You spend a little bit of time with author David Price Francis. You never look at things the same way again. And we're about to do that when it comes to pyramids. Dan Brown wrote a lot about pyramids in his book, The Da Vinci Code. But you're going to talk pyramids from an architectural and insightful point of view.
Yes. Well, behind us we have a pyramid and a spire. And the pyramid originally was part of what was called the pyramidion in Egypt. And it always had an energetic purpose. So any sacred geometry has a way of working with energies. So the pyramid was designed to boost the energies of people in that area, and it was dedicated to solar power. So when we see a pyramid, for example, on a government building, it's to do with sharpening the mind. It's to do with actually bringing better mental acuity and faculty to bear. And you can see this in a razor blade, would you believe, that you take a pyramid and you put a razor blade under the pyramid, it sharpens it up.
That is fascinating.
There's many people experimented with pyramids to have effect on the mind, on the human system. We also have next to it a spire, and of course the spire is inspiring. That's the first thing about it. And the spire is related to the obelisk in Egypt, which would always have a pyramidion on the top. And the spire was about communicating or trying to send an energy signal to the heavens. So in Egypt they were powerfully into Our Father, who art in heaven. It was actually an Egyptian prayer from the time of Akhenaten. And they were into trying to send energy from the planet up to the higher heavens.
Well, it's fantastic then that there's a pyramid on a government building.
Yes,
and as you
absolutely
say,
right.
Churches and all the rest. As you walk around town, and you in particular notice things like gargoyles. I thought they were sort of the whimsy of a designer, a mason, an architect, but au contraire. A gargoyle is there for a specific energetic purpose.
Yes, originally gargoyles were on the outside of medieval churches, and we looked at how bells are used to clear the energies of people as they approach the church. Well, another part of the idea was that the energies would leave the person and would go to something which is a tuning fork to that energy. So the gargoyle face was deliberately ugly, and the lower, more ugly energies were designed to go and stick with the gargoyle. And then when it rained, the water would come down and actually pass through the gargoyle's mouth and act as an energy cleaner and clearer. It was another church technology for cleaning and clearing energetics.
Fascinating. Now, I know when you are walking around Ottawa or anywhere, you're absolutely excited by heraldry or some of the symbols on crests or on flags. And one you wish to discuss is that of the unicorn and the lion.
Yes, this is on the post office, for example. When you go towards Parliament Hill, you'll see there's a lion and a unicorn crest, and that is the crest of the royal family of Britain. What it symbolizes, however, is the unicorn represents the energy of the mind, and the lion represents the energy of the heart. So it represents the mind and heart working in unison. So there's a lot of royal heraldry that still exists here in Ottawa, the fleur-de-lis being a powerful example which was picked up by the French and British royal families, and then the lion and unicorn particularly being picked up within the British royal family.
And when you mention that the unicorn represents the mind, it takes us back to that point of the spire.
Exactly, because we talk about sharpening the mind. Even the idea of wearing a dunce's cap was originally designed not as a ridicule, but it was designed to help focus or bring people's thinking to a point. Because there's a lot of energy above the head, so the idea was to actually keep that energy in confinement so that the mind wouldn't be jumping from one thing to another.
And I believe that pointed cap also, I know in Sevilla, Spain, it represents repentance and acknowledging sin. But that is a perfect example of how a symbol from history has been misinterpreted and misused. An example of that would be taking the dunce's cap and applying it to say the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes, and another example with that same pointed hat is that as human beings we actually represent a five-pointed star, as in the Vitruvian Man with Da Vinci, and if you extend the head to a point you actually complete the five-pointed star. So that's what they were also representing, that we work on we have a five-power soul that has five senses. It brings in five kinds of impressions, and this is also, would you believe, why pentagrams are so popular with the armed forces. You go to the English armed forces, you go to American, Russian, Chinese, they put these five-pointed stars everywhere. They say, oh, it's nothing, it's just a fetish, it's just something we do. But what they're doing is they're trying to bring in the energy that's associated with that symbol. They do it very deliberately. It's why the American military is governed from a pentagon which is what's in the middle of the pentagram.
I love spending time with you. It's a great chance to learn. And when we come back after the 12:30 news, we will chat more about symbology with David Price Francis, and we'll also talk about the color in your language and what that represents.
Fantastic.